Hi, everyone. This is the Espresso podcast back with our second episode. Today, we are joined by Mostafa Hashem, who specializes in data analytics and is the founder and director of Smartlytics, a data analytics consultancy. We're here with our podcast writers, Christopher Wang, Lucian Kirby, and Kirthan Kumarapan, who will be leading the conversation today. I'm Sarah, the chief editor of the Junior Economist, and I'm going to be monitoring the technological aspect of our meeting. So without further ado, let's get started with the conversation.
It is such a pleasure to have you with us today. Firstly, can you tell us how you got into data analytics and why it was an interesting area for you to pursue?
Yep. So I think I had I have a mixed background between IT, computer science, and business, and data was always something I had quite a passion for. I always when I had non-data jobs, I always had that passion of looking into the numbers, analyzing the data a bit further, trying to understand what the data is trying to tell us. But I never really started becoming all hands-on and working entirely in the data industry until 2016. And that's where I started becoming full-time involved in data and analytics. I can't say that I knew from the beginning out of uni that I want to be a data guy. I think it evolved over time, going through different experiences, and then I started to realize, okay, I really do have a passion for it, and then I started to shift primarily towards data.
Right, great. What led you to start your company, Smartlytics?
Sorry, didn't catch that, Christopher.
I was just wondering what led you to start your company, Smartlytics.
Okay, so it's actually a funny story. So I was doing individual consultancy within digital analytics, and then I had an opportunity to do a piece of consultancy for a public sector client, a local government in the UK, and it opened up my eyes. Okay, well, there's quite a lot more that can be done, and I can do a lot more if it's a company rather than an individual. And I've decided, okay, you know what, I can take this further. The client had a requirement for more work to be done, and they were interested in hiring me more long term. And I said, well, you know what, instead of hiring me, I've got this new company that I've just founded, and you can give me a contract for the company, and really that's how it was all born. I just shifted from being an individual consultant to actually setting up a company. So I'd be a liar if I say I had a business plan ready and I had everything ready. I really had an opportunity and a client, and then I decided, well, I can serve them through a business and grow that model rather than just continuing to be an individual consultant. And that's where Smartlytics really all started.
Yeah. And then please tell us more about your company and what exactly you do.
Yeah, so Smartlytics, we specialize in data analytics services. So we can break them down into like four main areas. One is what we call digital analytics. So that's all around web analytics, social media analytics, e-commerce websites, how users are engaging on websites in general and social media. So that's one area. Second is more around data science, machine learning, and AI. So this is more advanced data analytics work. It's creating models to predict sales, for example, predict customer churn, predict fraud, and so on. So it's more around machine learning and AI. We also do a lot of text analytics, so analyzing text data within that space. Third would be data engineering. So it's all about moving data from one source to another, creating data warehouses, data lakes, and so on. And number four is about data visualization and analysis. So most of our clients want to see their data in a visually appealing report or dashboard that's easy to understand, colorful, matches their brand, and so on. So data visualization would be the fourth area. So these are the key services that we offer. and we work with quite a wide range of clients in different countries. And we've just been recently, very recently, a few days ago, been acquired by a company called Now Vertical Group in Canada, which will allow us to even grow our business further. So that's a very recent, just over Christmas.
Out of curiosity, what are you doing now, and do you have any future plans or exciting projects coming up?
Yep. So we're all the time. One of the things that excites us a lot is to transform repetitive services that we do over and over again for our clients into a product. So we are a service business at our core, but we constantly try and look at services that clients have been buying over and over again and try to automate the service and offer it as a product rather than just a service. So there's a few things we're working at the moment related to digital analytics around e-commerce for clients to be able to understand competitors and where competitors are getting their traffic from, looking at things like trends and what people are looking for at the moment to try and provide them with more intelligence. We're also doing a bit of work around NLP or natural language processing and text analytics. So it's really shifting services into products as we go along. Additionally, becoming part of Now Vertical has some products that we're also offering to our clients, which is something that really excites us a lot because we're able to deliver a service, but also products to our clients. So I think these are the key areas of focus at the moment, or some of the exciting work we're doing.
And what is something that contributes to your success now that you wish you had known about earlier in your?
So recurring revenue is one of the biggest changes that happened to Smartlytics. So we were like a lot of consultancies, we were working on project-based work. So a customer gives us a project to work on for a fixed price. We work on it and deliver the work, and we get paid. But I wasn't really concerned about having like a retainer model or a recurring form of revenue until COVID hit us in 2020, and it was quite tough for us because all our clients decided to stop the work. They felt like, okay, it's not essential right now. The world is collapsing, and you know what? I don't want the analytics project done now. So suddenly everything stopped, and we were running out of cash. And then I quickly realized, well, we need to ensure that our customers are on a recurring plan, even if it looks like it's more cost efficient for them. Maybe it's priced lower than fixed price project, but a recurring payment would be quite beneficial. And then we came up with a product called Smart Support, which is our analytics support plan. So customers are on a contract, and they pay like a monthly fee as if they're subscribing to QuickBooks or any SaaS solution that they subscribe for. So Smartlytics became for them a subscription, and then if they don't feel like they need this project done this month, it's not like you stop paying for Zoom just because you don't want to use it today. You continue to pay for it on a monthly subscription, whether you use it 100 times a month or 5 times a month or not at all. And customers are using it quite a lot. So I think this is one thing that if I realized this earlier, I would have started it back in 2017 when we started. Because it's been a game changer for us, and I think it's quite important for any business to have some form of recurring revenue and not just depend on one-off projects, especially if they're in the service business.
Could you tell us about an organizational business that you worked with where data analytics transformed its performance and impact?
Yep. So we work with quite a wide range of clients. So we work in the government, public sector space. We work with large corporates. We work with medium-sized and small businesses. the examples are quite a lot, but there's one example I can take from an investment management consultancy. They're a medium-sized business. They were doing a lot of their reports manually, all using Excel. And trust me, some of these large businesses, they still use a lot of Excel. People have to manually move data from one place to another. They have to do PowerPoint presentations and all that. So we've managed to automate all their data solution for them. So everything happens in an automated manner. Data comes from all the different sources, their finance system, their CRM systems, their HR systems, and so on, goes into a central repository, which we call a data warehouse. Everything's stored in there. And then they've got one single source of truth. They know where the truth is. If you want to create a report, it comes from one source, not different sources where people might be giving different numbers and there's no accuracy. And then from there, we've automated the reports. We've done different forecasting or predictive models for them. So it turned from everything manual, everything automated, but they've also got accurate data that they can rely on, and they've got more advanced data models that do predictions and make things more. They can depend on it more. So that's one example of a project. Another maybe one from a different type is for a pharmaceutical company that works within. It collects the brochures or the prescriptions of nearly every medication in the UK. And they used to have to bring a team to manually type in these prescriptions into online versions. So it was like thousands and thousands of hours. We've managed to create an AI tool that uses machine learning to actually automatically read the scanned versions and it performs some quality assurance on it to make sure that the right doses were properly scanned and were properly input, and then it transforms it into a web version. One of the tricky parts in a project like this was every company and every manufacturer had their own version of their PDFs or their documents. Some would have 3 columns, some would have 2 columns. So it's not as simple as a bank statement where we all have the same format. It's the same table, just the different numbers. These were quite completely different documents, which was quite difficult for a machine to realize because things are placed in different places. Where is the address? Where's the dose? Where's the details? Where's the ingredients and so on? So that was a quite exciting project that we've worked on. It was quite successful.
Yeah, so making decisions using data is something you heavily believe in. So after years of mastering the use of data, how have you been able to avoid false or inflated data on rare occasions?
So how have we been able to avoid what, sorry?
Of false data or inflated data or inflated numbers on some certain rare occasions?
Yeah, absolutely. So data quality is one of the trickiest parts. You can, if you've got what we call dirty data and you create a model out of it, you're going to get completely inaccurate decisions or recommendations that maybe will take you to the wrong direction. So one of the key things when you decide to use data to build decisions out of it is to make sure that you get as best quality as possible from the data you have. Well, for example, if you've got certain outliers in your data, you might decide to exclude these outliers so they don't impact the model. So let's say you've got 100 students and everyone ranges between a score of 60 and 85. But then you've got 2 students that for some reason they've got more than 100 on the scores, and then a couple of students that maybe have got 10 out of 100. You know that this is not the norm, and you might decide, if you've got the right evidence, that okay, I'm going to exclude these 4 students from the model because they are going to impact the numbers, and I'm going to build it on the majority. And then that helps you achieve better accuracy in terms of the model, and then you've got more accurate data to build decisions out of it. Obviously, there's a science behind how you can exclude or not exclude. It's not just you come up and say, "I'm going to exclude this customer or this student from my model." There's a set of rules and process in terms of data cleansing that you can go through to make decisions. But it's quite important to use as clean as possible data so that you get as accurate as possible results out of your data. The other thing is, at the end of the day, there's also the human reasoning and questioning of what the model is telling you. So it's if it's telling you something that you're not quite confident about, maybe you're going to test it on a smaller scale. So it's telling you, oh, you need to sell this product instead of that product, rather than going and changing all your marketing strategy and all your sales strategy. You'd want to pilot it on a smaller scale, build the trust and actually believe in what the model's telling you. And if it's on the right track, you'll start to increase that and apply it across a larger scale.
From your perspective, with the rapid development of super fast processors and AI, what will data analytics look like in 10 years?
Oh, I think if I definitely know the answer, then I'll be in a different place in 10 years. But there's definitely a lot of indicators at the moment. There are things like one of the things I'm looking into at the moment extensively is what we call natural language querying. And so everyone has looked at, I'm sure you guys came across ChatGPT, and everyone's talking about it at the moment and how it's changed things. I think more and more similar AI solutions will be available in the space of data and analytics, where rather than having to learn how to use a tool and all the code behind it to build certain visuals and create certain calculations, you're going to input what you're looking for in plain English, and it will start to give you the results. That's already to some extent being introduced by some of the bigger players in the industry, like Microsoft, for example. But I think we're going to see more and more of this. Also, data and data science and analytics will become more and more decentralized, and it will become something that every individual, whatever the role is in a business, will be able to perform a great level of analytics. So it's not going to be more just for the data scientist or the data analyst. It's actually going to expand what they call democratization of data and analytics. It will become more accessible. I think things like augmented analytics will start to grow. Definitely IoT, Internet of Things, and the amount of data that they're capturing. And data doesn't have to be collected from all the different sensors and devices into a central place and then be analyzed days later or weeks later. It will actually be analyzed on the spot at the device level. So the analytics will, a sensor will capture the data, it will analyze it at the device level to a great extent, and then send ready analyzed data back to the users. So I think these are some of the key things that will happen, and maybe not even 10 years, maybe in the coming 3 to 5 years, these will become more and more of a reality. So these are my best predictions.
Academics and politicians have published a lot on the perils of big data. For example, Joanna Redden, director of the Data Justice Lab at Cardiff University, talks about a growing consensus that with big data comes great opportunity, but also great risks. In a more hopeful and idealistic world, what can you talk about the benefits and how big data can be harnessed for the good in our society?
Yep. So absolutely. One of the important things is to make sure that your use of data does not cause bias in decision making, because if I build my assumptions on a sample data set that is only looking at a certain ethnic origin or a certain group of people, and then I build assumptions for an entire population that's got a diverse population, people from different backgrounds, different ethnic origins. Maybe not everyone's English is their first language, and so on. And you've built all your models based on a certain group, then it will definitely cause bias, and it will not be a fair model. So I think it's really, really important to ensure that the data that's being used covers the majority of the population, whether especially when it comes to government data analytics and data that will impact a large number of people, if it impacts an entire society. If that's being taken into consideration, and people working on data and analytics understand that there could be bias, even if it wasn't unintentional bias, because sometimes you maybe you've never meant it. Someone just gave you the data to analyze it, but you've never thought about, oh, does this represent all the students at this university? Is it fair to make an assumption that this will apply to all students, or not? So I think if that's taken into account, data can create a lot of benefits, because it takes out a lot of the guessing, and instead of a decision maker coming in and coming up with their own ideas out of what they feel is right, they have a solid proof of where they need to go. And yes, they still need to use their common sense, their human part into it, but they've got a guide that will direct them in the right direction. But it's super, super important to make sure that data does not exclude people, is as unbiased and fair as it possibly can. And any risks involved with the data not being fair enough should be clearly addressed and clearly tested. But yeah, I think if that's taken into account, then data could have a lot of positive impact on people, on businesses, on governments, and it is already having that impact. But I think it's that cautious of also how it could go the other way if we're not cautious. Yeah.
So I read an article that you published in 2017 about your experiences with your worst manager. Besides writing about your experiences, your writing itself was very articulate. It felt like you enjoyed writing and journaling. Do you have any background in writing and journalism?
No, not at all. I think I used to have a passion for writing a bit at school, but I've never really went into any professional sort of writing. But I guess writing and trying to articulate things in a certain way has always helped me in when I was employed in large corporates, or when I went through my different entrepreneurial journeys. It was always been quite helpful, because I think writing is a great skill, and if you manage to use it to communicate as clearly as possible, it's really quite helpful. So no, I haven't had any background, but it's something that I enjoy, I'd say.
Yeah, adding on to that, I noticed a lot of motivational and inspirational quotes on your Facebook page. Entrepreneurship is very difficult and requires taking a lot of risks. So who inspired or motivated you to work towards your dreams?
So yeah, entrepreneurship and the startup world is it looks really cool from the outside, but it's really hard from the inside. I think a lot of people have inspired me throughout my journey, but definitely a couple of people are worth mentioning. A great gentleman called Mo Gaudat. He used to be the VP of innovation at Google, and then he was the chief business officer at Google X, and now he's quit the corporate world, and he's got a few books out around happiness. and he was at some point my mentor back in 2012, 2013. And I learned quite a lot of him. He gave me quite a lot of motivation. I also have to say my wife has been quite a lot of motivation, because again, being a wife for an entrepreneur, that is like always putting everything you have at risk, and like, okay, this is my next venture, I'm going to do this. There's no real stability. Sometimes you're doing really well and yeah, you're celebrating. Other times, okay, you're really stuck in the corner, and you're fighting hard to just pay your bills and get things sorted. So I think she's definitely a motivation, because she let me do it and support me. So I think these two people I'd definitely mention as two people that have supported me on my journey.
And finally, what is one tip that you would give to JEC members who are looking to become entrepreneurs in the future?
So I strongly believe in it's not really about funding. And I know a lot of people, when you start you have a product or a service idea or business idea, the first thing that usually comes in mind is, oh, I need a lot of money, I need a lot of funding. But what I've realized over time is you need customers, you need people that are willing to pay for this service, for this product. You still might need funding, but what you really need at the beginning is to prove that someone's willing to pay $1 for it. That proof, and someone's interested in using this product, someone uses it every day, even if it's free of charge. If you create that traction and create that proof, the money, whether it comes from investors or it comes directly from you doing the sales, it will come. I at some points I used to think the end goal was to raise capital, and when you raise investment, you think, oh, I've achieved it, I've done it. While in reality, I've started Smartlytics for 100 pounds, 100 English pounds in 2017. It was completely bootstrapped. I didn't have any funding from any investors, and all what I knew, what I needed is customers. I need customers to buy my service. If I get customers, I'm going to be able to grow. And we've continued to grow organically with zero funding. And a few days ago, we got acquired for a few millions, and that's what I would encourage people and interested in entrepreneurship and startups, is to not really make funding their full-time job, to make the product and finding a customer their full-time job. And then if they need the funding, which sometimes, yeah, some products you definitely need capital to make it grow, but the capital will follow. Don't make fundraising the target and the objective. That's the biggest thing I'd say I've learned over the past years, is build a business, get customers, prove that people want it, and then the money will follow, whether it comes from sales, whether it comes from venture capital, it will follow if you've got that proof.
Amazing. So those are all the questions that we had prepared today. So that's pretty much the end of the podcast. Thank you so much to Mostafa for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you, and we can't wait to share your answers with the rest of the JEC.
Thank you very much for your time and the opportunity, and I wish you all the best and all the success, and speak to you soon.
Thank you so much. I'll let you know when we publish the podcast.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.